our YouTube. Welcome to our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. This is introduction to communication skills. We are going to first define what communication is, and we are going to see different scholars what they have said communication is. Gigi Brown says that communication is transfer of information from one person to another, whether or not it elicits confidence, but the information transferred must be understandable to the receiver. I can't agree more. There are other people who have defined what a communication is, including Chip Ross and attorney and mediator. We also have Reggie Meyer, who has also defined what communication is. But here we find the comprehensive definition of what communication is, and it iterates that communication is giving, receiving and exchanging ideas, information, signals, or messages through appropriate media, enabling individuals or groups to persuade, to seek information, to give information, or to express emotions. This broad definition includes body language, skills of speaking and writing. It outlines the objectives of communication and emphasizes listening as an important aspect of communication. I think that one is the best definition of communication. But we can also say that communication is a process of exchanging information, ideas, thoughts, feelings and emotions through speech, signals, writings or behavior. Therefore, we have noted that communication is a process whereby it includes the person who is sending the message, who is also referred to as the encoder, who sends a message through a certain media or a channel and sends to that person who is receiving, who in this case we refer to him as the decoder. And that message must have an information in it. And of course, after receiving the information, then we must therefore have a reply. We're going to look at types of communication based on communication channels. Remember, we can have different types of communication based on different factors. But on this case, we are looking at types of communication based on communication channels. What channels do you use? We can have two types of communication, that is verbal communication and non-verbal communication. That one is quite simple, whereby we can say that verbal communication refers to the form of communication in which message is transmitted verbally, that is through the word of mouth and writing. Therefore, we have also noted that it is divided into two, that is the word of mouth and writing. Therefore, we will going to see also it can be subdivided, and that is what you can say, that it is subdivided into oral, that is spoken, and written communication. Oral or rather spoken communication, this is purely by the words of the mouth. That is maybe what we can have a conversation, or face-to-face conversation. Speech, whereby there are people who are watching. You can also have radio, video, television, and all that, whereby it is just face-to-face, whereby only communication by words, and there's no writing. It is different from what we are calling written communication, because in a written communication we have written documents, we can have letters, we can have journals, we can have reports, memo, employee maybe manuals, mails, and all that, including this presentation that we are doing. This one is written communication. We are going to look at the advantages of oral or spoken communication. I can say this one is the most effective, and we can say that it allows immediate feedback, and that is it. When you have a face-to-face conversation, then therefore it is easily that you're going to send an information and get a clear answer immediately. Another advantage is that the sender is able to check and see whether if the instruction is clear or has created confusion. Of course, you can understand that if the encoder and he has received your message, and if he understood what that message was, and if the media of communication was successful. Number 3, we can say there's high level of understanding and transparency in oral communication. That is it. You can even understand when a person is lying through face-to-face communication. Number 4, it is no element of rigidity in oral communication. There is flexibility for allowing stages of discussion previously taken. Of course, you can even change from one topic to another, and you can always question where you don't understand, or maybe there's no rigidity. That is what we want to mean. Number 5, that we can also say that spoken instruction are flexible and easily adaptable to many diverse situations, whereby even if a person cannot be able to see, that person can be able to maybe hear, and that person is going to understand the instruction. Also, it is very effective for a group number, a big number of people who you might want to instruct. Another advantage of oral communication is that the feedback is spontaneous, and thus decision can be made quickly without any delay, and that is why this kind of communication is the most effective. We can also say that oral communication is not only time saving, but it also saves upon money and effort. Of course, you don't have to send emails, you don't have to send a message, you just communicate through the word of mouth, and it is time saving, and it saves time and a lot of effort. Another advantage, that is advantage 8 of oral communication, is that it is the best in case of problems resolution, maybe whereby there is conflict, or you need to have a dispute. Through the word of mouth, then you can easily convince someone to accept what you maybe want them to accept. Oral communication is also as an essential to teamwork or group energy. Yeah, it is also very effective whereby you have a teamwork, because all of you can come together, join hands and speak, which is very effective, and it will also save time, and the group work will be very possible to achieve. Another advantage, it is that it promotes receptive and encouraging morale among organizational employees. When you speak, you even become friends. Therefore, we can see that it encourages morale. Maybe in a company whereby even the boss is engaging with you as the employees, you always encourage and have that morale to even work harder for that particular company. We can also say that oral communication can be best used to transfer private or confidential information. Of course, when you speak maybe to your friend, that message, when you are just two, that message is very confidential. Lastly, we can say face-to-face conversation, that is by reading facial expression and body language, one can guess whether he or she should trust what's being said or not, and we talked about that as well. We can say that that person who is maybe speaking to you can be able to see whether you are understanding through your facial expression. That is what most teachers will use to see whether the students are concentrating. It also has so many disadvantages. We can say that poor presentation of message or the instruction can result in misunderstanding and wrong responses, which can be maybe concluded as rude and so on. Another advantage of it is that it may not be sufficient, as business communication is formal and very organized. Yes, in businesses you need to have an organized or formal communication. Therefore, oral communication is very discouraged. Oral communication is less authentic than written communication, as they are informal and not as organized as written communication. Written communication, of course, we know that it is formal, and that written communication is what we use in offices. Therefore, oral communication is less authentic. We can also say that oral communication is time-saving as far as daily interactions are concerned, but in case of meetings, long speeches consume a lot of time and are unproductive at times. Of course, when those people who are speaking in the podium don't know how to save time, then it becomes boring, it may waste time and so on. We can also see that it is not easy to maintain, and thus they are unsteady. Yeah, maybe sometimes one might feel provoked and might want to respond when it is not time to do so. Therefore, this kind of communication is not steady. There may be misunderstandings as the information is not complete and may lack essentials. Yes, there might be cases of misunderstandings and therefore leading to maybe wrong information, and it may result to ineffective communication. It also requires attentiveness and great receptivity on part of receivers and audience. Yes, you must be very, very attentive to get this kind of communication. We also have oral communication, that is speeches. We can see that it is not frequent, used as legal records except investigation work. Lastly, we can see that spoken communication is expressed by both verbal and nonverbal communication, such as tone and body language, which may twist the meaning of your message in the mind of the receiver. Of course, there is your psychological understanding of the body language, and this one might influence the message that the sender wanted to deliver. We are also going to look at written communication. That is when we have talked about it is the message that can be transferred via a letter, a report, a memo, maybe bulletins, job descriptions, employee manuals, emails, and so on. Just the advantages, it is for complicated and verbal instructions. That is precise and uniform manner. Yeah, it's very, very precise. Number 2, we can say that written communication helps in laying down apparent principles, policies, and the rules for running an organization, and that is why universities speak to you through memos. This is also a permanent means of communication, and written instruction can be used for future references here, and you can easily keep them future references. It also assists in proper delegation of responsibilities. Yeah, when you write them, then when you write this delegation of responsibility, maybe in a school whereby the principal delegates the responsibility to teachers, therefore these teachers can easily refer which role was delegated to them and at what time that role was delegated to them. Written communication is more precise and explicit. We have talked about that. We can also say that it is effective written communication develops and enhances organization's image. Yes, that is it. It also shows that organization is well ordered. It provides ready records and references. We have talked about that. We can also say that legal defenses upon written communication is it provides valid records. There is less chance for a message to be misunderstood. Authority is transmitted more effectively with written order and with oral one. With an oral one, yeah. And the messages can be edited and revised many times before it is actually sent. We can also say that written communication provides record for every message sent